The sun was barely up when the Johnson family finished packing the car. Marcus closed the trunk and looked at his children with a small smile. He wanted this week to be simple and happy. He wanted to be only dad for 7 days. The world could be loud. Work could be heavy. But this trip was a promise he made to himself and to his family a month ago. Denise, his wife, checked the list again. Snacks, beach towels, sunscreen, baseball caps, a small first aid kit, and the big blue umbrella. Their daughter, Maya, held her camera, and their son, Jordan, hugged a pillow like it was a small pet. That needed to travel too. They climbed in, and Marcus started the engine. The road opened in front of them like a ribbon leading to the sea. The drive felt easy at first. They shared music, told stories, and played a simple game where each person picked a color of car and counted how many they could spot. Denise reached back now and then to hand out grapes and crackers. Maya filmed the sky as it turned brighter. Jordan said he could already smell the ocean even though they were still miles away. Marcus kept his hands relaxed on the wheel. He was careful without looking tense. He did not want his kids to see the weight that lived behind his quiet eyes. He always kept his badge and ID in the same place. He always kept the car documents organized. He always signaled early. These were habits that came from years of training and also from years of being a dad who wanted his family safe. He loved his work, but today he loved the idea of switching it off. By late morning, they reached the small coastal town that people online called charming and perfect for families. Colorful houses stood in a row like cheerful postcards. A salty breeze moved through the open car windows, and gulls cried over the rooftops. The hotel sat a block away from the beach, painted cream and blue with potted palms by the entrance. Inside, the lobby smelled like lemon cleaner and coffee. A young desk clerk looked up with a polite smile that paused for half a second. So brief you might miss it, but not brief enough that Marcus did. The smile returned full strength. "Welcome. Checking in?" she asked. Denise gave their name and confirmation number. The clerk typed, then glanced again, then nodded quickly. "Yes, here you are. 5 nights, 2 queen beds and a sofa bed. Ocean peak from the balcony." Her voice had a bright rhythm, like she had practiced being friendly. She slid over 2 key cards. "Enjoy your stay?" They rode the elevator to the 4th floor, found their room, and opened the door to a space that felt like vacation. Sunlight came through the sliding glass door. The balcony showed a narrow view of blue water between 2 buildings. Maya ran to it and took a short video of the waves. Jordan tested the bounce of the bed, then asked if the pool was open. "We'll check after we explore," Denise said. She unpacked in a neat pattern the way she always did. Bathroom items in one corner, snacks on the counter, swimsuits in the top drawer. Marcus stood at the glass for a moment, letting his shoulders drop. He whispered something only he could hear. A small thank you for this quiet, then turned to his family. "Boardwalk," he said. 4 hands shot up. Boardwalk. The boardwalk was busy, but friendly. A man sold roasted nuts from a warm silver cart. A woman painted seashells with tiny brushes and sold them for $3 each. The smell of fried batter and sugar floated everywhere. Musicians played a soft guitar tune on a corner. Maya took photos of a sandcastle that someone had built with careful lines and towers. "Take one of me," Jordan said, standing next to it like a proud guard. They laughed. They bought lemon ices and let the cold sweetness slow the afternoon. At a small t-shirt stand, the owner held up a shirt and said, "You folks from the city?" He said it with a tone Marcus knew well, not unfriendly, but not purely curious either. Denise answered with a light smile. "We're visiting from a few hours away." The owner nodded slowly, then offered a discount he called a welcome deal. They took 2 shirts anyway because Maya liked the design. As they walked on, Jordan asked, "Why did he ask like that?" Marcus kept his voice even and gentle. Sometimes people speak before they think. We'll show them who we are by how we act. Denise squeezed his hand. They ate an early dinner at a seafood place with windows that faced the water. The host, busy with a long wait list, first pointed them toward a table near the kitchen doors. Denise asked, kindly, if they could wait for a window seat instead. "It's okay," she said. "We're not in a rush." The host studied them. For a second, then nodded and marked something on his tablet. 10 minutes later, they were at the glass, watching a thin line of foam touch the shore again and again. The server started off brisk but softened as Maya asked questions about the local fish and said thank you after every answer. By the time dessert came, he was telling them about a lighthouse tour and a secret cove where the water was extra clear in the morning. They wrote it down like a treasure map. Marcus felt his chest open a little more. Maybe, he told himself, this is exactly what we needed. After dinner, they took a slow walk on the sand. The air had cooled. The sky held streaks of pink and orange. A kid flew a kite that looked like a giant bird. A runner passed, leaving small moon shapes in the sand with the heels of her shoes. Denise tucked her hair behind her ears and breathed in the salt air like medicine. Maya set her camera on a small tripod and took a timed family photo. They all laughed when Jordan blinked at the exact blink moment. They took another. In the second one, everyone's eyes were open and the laughter looked like light on their faces. Marcus looked at that photo on the tiny screen and felt time slow. "Save that one," he said. "That's the one we'll remember." On the way back to the hotel, a patrol car rolled past slowly at an intersection. It wasn't strange. There were lots of tourists, and summer brought noise. Jordan waved the way kids wave at trucks and buses. The patrol car didn't stop. It kept moving, lights off. Just a quiet glide across the crosswalk and down the next block. Marcus's grip on the steering wheel stayed steady. He was not worried. He was simply aware. He was always aware. He checked the speedometer. 30 in a 30 zone. He checked his mirrors. He signaled a clean left turn. The car hummed. In the back seat, Jordan had fallen asleep with his head against the window. Maya scrolled through her photos and chose her favorites. The next morning, the family tried the small cafe near the pier. It had chalkboard menus with looping handwriting and a display case of pastries that looked like small art. The owner, an older woman with kind eyes, said, "Welcome in," like she meant it, and showed them to a table. A couple at the window smiled politely and went back to their crossword. The cafe felt warm and safe. Marcus liked watching Denise enjoy her coffee. Maya and Jordan argued softly about whether pancakes were better than waffles. Then a plate of each arrived and peace returned. The owner stopped by to ask if they needed anything else. "We're looking for sunscreen, the kind that doesn't feel sticky," Denise said. "Down the block," the owner replied. "Little surf shop with a blue door. Ask for Luis." She bent toward Jordan. "And for you, sunshine, the raspberry jam is homemade." He grinned as if she had given him a gift. At the surf shop, rows of bright boards and stacks of towels made the small space feel like a rainbow. Music played softly from a radio. A young man behind the counter looked up, then looked down again. He watched them move through the aisles with a glance that followed. Marcus noticed but did not change his stride. He picked up a bottle of sunscreen and read the label. Denise compared prices. Maya checked for reef safe notes, a detail she had learned in science class. Marcus walked to the counter and asked, "Hi, could you help us find a long-sleeve shirt for a kid?" The young man blinked, then shifted into a friendly grin like a switch had been flipped. "Of course," he said. "We just got new ones." He showed a rack they had missed. "Thanks," Marcus said with a calm smile. The simple ask, the simple answer. It wasn't a big thing, and yet, in a way, it was. By afternoon, they were back on the sand, umbrella planted deep, chairs open, toes buried. The children built a new sandcastle, taller than the one from yesterday. Denise read a novel with the kind of attention she rarely had time for at home. Marcus watched the water, that steady breathing of the planet. Two lifeguards talked near their stand. A group of friends played a casual game with a flying disc. Farther down the beach, a photographer took pictures of a couple who had written their initials in a heart close to the waterline. Every few minutes, a wave pulled at the edge of that heart, but didn't erase it. Not yet. Now and then, Marcus felt eyes on them. Nothing sharp, just small, passing looks that landed, questioned, and drifted on. It was like walking through mist. You could pretend you weren't wet. You could tell yourself the air was only heavy. He focused on the kids' laughter. He checked that their cooler was in the shade. He reapplied sunscreen to his own arms because he always forgot and burned on the tops of his forearms. He thought about the lighthouse tour the server had mentioned. He pictured the view from the top, how he would hold the kids' hands on the last steep steps, how Denise would laugh when the wind took her hair, how the town would look small from up there and peaceful. When the sun began to soften, they packed up slowly. The umbrella shook off the sand with a few taps. The chairs folded into slim shapes. They brushed each other's legs and feet with small towels before stepping into their sandals. Bah! The dinner plates were cleared, and the hum of the restaurant softened to a gentle murmur. Marcus watched the last light settle over the water like a thin silver sheet. Denise laughed at something Jordan said about the shape of the bread basket. He thought it looked like a little boat, and Maya recorded a quick clip of waves rolling under the pier. For a moment, everything felt light again, as if the whole day wanted to end with a quiet bow. Outside, the night air was cool and kind. They walked to the car under the soft glow of the street lamps. Marcus unlocked the doors, and the family climbed in with the easy rhythm of practiced teamwork. Seatbelts clicked. The engine turned over. A low song played on the radio, and the windows were open just enough to let in the sea. Marcus checked his mirrors with his steady habits and pulled out slowly. The streets were calm. A few couples strolled hand in hand. A jogger passed with a small blinking light around his ankle. Marcus drove with the unhurried care of a person who wanted the night to last a little longer. He came to a stop sign and stopped fully. 1, 2, 3, and then rolled forward. Denise leaned back, one hand on Maya's shoulder, and asked, "About tomorrow's plan. Lighthouse, then the cove, then maybe tacos. This," Marcus thought, "is how it should be." 2 blocks later, he saw a glow in his rearview mirror, a patrol car turning onto the same road. He noticed it without changing. He kept the speed at the limit. He signaled where he knew he should. The patrol car kept its distance at first. Then, at the next turn, it turned when he turned. The low song on the radio felt too soft now, almost, like a whisper that didn't fit the new shape of the moment. Marcus's hands stayed loose on the wheel. Denise glanced up too, not alarmed, just attentive. The light behind him flashed on, a quick burst of red and blue that bounced across their windows and the quiet storefronts. Jordan turned his head and blinked. "Are we in trouble?" he asked, voice small. "We're okay," Marcus said, calm as a still pond. He slowed and pulled to the right, choosing a spot under a street lamp near a closed bakery. He put the car in park, turned down the radio, and rested both hands on the top of the steering wheel. He took a slow breath and felt the air move through his chest like a simple promise. 2 officers stepped out. The first, a tall man with a square jaw, approached on the driver's side. The second, shorter with a close-cropped haircut, came up on the passenger side, just behind Denise's window. Their flashlights were on, not bright enough to hurt, but bright enough to make the light feel official. The tall officer leaned down slightly. "Good evening," he said. "License and registration?" "Good evening, officer," Marcus replied. His tone was even, not stiff, Not sweet, just steady. He reached slowly toward the glove compartment, but first said, "My registration is in the glove box and my license is in my wallet. I'm going to get them now." He moved in clear, slow motions. Open the box, take the folder, close the box, pull out the wallet, remove the license. Each step visible and simple. He handed both items over. "Where are you heading tonight?" the tall officer asked as he took the documents. "Back to our hotel," Marcus said, nodding toward the kids in the back. "We had dinner by the water." The officer's flashlight moved across the car's interior, pausing on Maya's camera bag and Jordan's sand-dusted flip-flops. "You from around here?" he asked. "We're visiting for the week," Denise said gently. "The hotel by the boardwalk." "What's the reason for the stop, officer?" Marcus asked, still calm. The tall officer's eyes were quiet for a second. "Your turn signal looked delayed at the last intersection," he said. "Just a standard check." He straightened. "Stay put." With that, he walked back toward the patrol car, holding the license and registration. The second officer remained near the passenger side, posture formal, eyes scanning without landing. Inside the car, the stillness felt different now. The night sounds carried in. The soft engine idle, a faraway gull, the smooth hush of tires on pavement. Maya kept her hands folded around her camera strap. Jordan pressed his forehead lightly to the window and watched the changing colors from the patrol car reflect in small loops on the glass. Denise rested her hand over Marcus's forearm and gave a small squeeze. "We're okay," she whispered, though her eyes were not on him. They were on the children. Marcus nodded once. He kept his breathing even. He knew this dance. He had taught this dance, how to be calm, how to be clear, how to let time pass without feeding the fire. He did not reach for the badge in his wallet. Not yet. Not for a turn signal story. Not with the kids watching him for cues on how to be, how to wait, how to hold their own light in a tight space. The minutes stretched. The patrol car's interior light glowed. The tall officer seemed to be typing on a device. The shorter officer shifted his stance and looked down the street as if expecting something. A bicyclist rolled by and glanced over, then kept going. A breeze brushed a line of flags outside a closed souvenir shop, and they made a soft sound like paper breathing. The shorter officer stepped closer to the passenger window. He didn't lean in, but his voice came through clear. "Ma'am, is this your vehicle?" "It's a rental," Denise answered in a polite tone. "We picked it up yesterday." The officer nodded once, his face unreadable. "Mind telling me where you're staying?" "The Seaside Blue," she said. "Room on the 4th floor." She offered that last detail without thinking, as people do when they want to show they have nothing to hide. Marcus kept his eyes ahead, but listened to every syllable, every small weight the words carried. The tall officer returned with the documents. He handed them back to Marcus. "Mr. Johnson," he said, reading the name. "We're just making sure everything is in order." "Is everything in order?" Marcus asked. He placed the license and registration back exactly where they had been, slow and visible. The officer seemed to consider the question. "Yes," he said at last. "Just be mindful about signaling." His voice softened just a small step, then tightened again. "Where? Are you heading tomorrow?" Marcus could feel the question behind the question, but he did not push back. "We have a tour booked for the lighthouse," he said. "Then the beach." The officer's eyes flicked to the kids again. "All right," he said. He took a half step back. "Drive safe." "Thank you," Marcus replied. His tone stayed level. Denise gave a small nod. The shorter officer, who had not said more, lowered his flashlight and followed his partner back to the patrol car. The red and blue lights flicked once more and then went dark. The engine purred. The car idled for a beat and then pulled away, turning at the corner and slipping out of view. Inside the Johnsons' car, air returned in a fuller way. Jordan led. Out of breath, he hadn't realized he was holding. "What happened?" he asked. "Sometimes people check things that don't need to be checked," Marcus said gently. "But we are okay." "Did you forget to signal?" Maya asked, trying to make the world make sense. "I don't think so," Marcus said. He chose his words like careful steps. "But even if they believed that, we showed patience and respect. That is what we can control." He glanced at Denise. Her eyes were steady now, but he could see a careful sadness there, the kind that comes when you want to hold your children's belief in the world and keep it from bruising. They drove the last few blocks to the hotel in a hush that was not heavy, just thoughtful. The lobby was quieter now. A soft piano track played over small speakers. The desk clerk looked up and gave a real smile this time, the kind that met the eyes without pause. "Good evening," she said. Marcus nodded back, grateful for simple kindness. They took the elevator up. In the room, Jordan kicked off his shoes and sank into the sofa bed with a small groan. "Can we watch something funny?" he asked. Denise handed him the remote. 10 minutes, she said. "Then teeth in bed." Maya sat on the edge of the bed and reviewed her photos from the day. The sand castle, the lemon ice, the way the sunset painted the water like a new language. She tucked the camera away. Marcus stood by the balcony door for a minute, looking at the thin slice of ocean and the line of stars that had shown up like quiet witnesses. He reached into his bag and took out a small notebook. He wrote the time, the street name he'd seen on the corner sign, the details the tall officer had said, the simple facts of the moment. He did not write long sentences. He listed short truths. This was a habit that gave shape to the fog. He slipped the notebook back into his bag and turned to his family. "Who wants ice cream?" he asked suddenly. Denise raised her brows. "Now?" He nodded. "Just a short walk. Cones. The place by the corner might still be open." The kids were already up before he finished the sentence. They walked the block together, hands brushing, steps light again. The ice cream shop was indeed still open, a bell over the door chiming when they entered. A young cashier with a tired but friendly smile said, "Hey there, what can I get you?" The shop smelled like waffle cones and strawberries. Jordan studied the tubs like they were rare sea creatures. Maya chose a small scoop of mint. Denise picked raspberry sorbet. Marcus chose vanilla, old and faithful. They ate on a bench outside, watching the street in its night clothes. A patrol car passed at the far end of the block, not slowing, not looking, just another car in the night. Jordan licked a drip from his cone. "Dad," he said, "what do we do if that happens again?" Marcus thought for a moment. He wanted to answer once and answer well. "We do what we did," he said. Morning arrived soft and bright, and the family woke with a feeling that the day would be good. Denise stretched the curtains open so the room filled with gold light, and the ocean looked like a friendly face. Marcus brewed a small pot of coffee and poured it into paper cups. He passed hot chocolate to the kids. Maya tied her hair back, slid her camera strap across her shoulder, and checked the battery. Jordan bounced in small circles on his toes because he was ready for the lighthouse. They packed snacks, water, sunscreen, and the little notebook Marcus always kept near him. It was a simple list of small needs that made the day feel easy. They walked along the boardwalk toward the tour office. The wind moved the flags and the gulls called out like tiny bells. The guide at the lighthouse was an older man with a welcoming voice and sun-warmed skin. He told stories about ship captains, foghorns, and the light that had guided people safely home for 100 years. The stairs were narrow and steep, and Marcus held Jordan's hand for the last few steps. At the top, the town looked small and neat, the beach a pale ribbon, the water calm as glass near the shore and darker farther out. Denise stood with her eyes closed for a moment, letting the wind brush away any leftover worry. Maya took photos of everything. The lens, the spiral stairs, the view like a painting, and she whispered, "I want to remember this exactly." After the tour, they walked to the little cove the server had told them about. The water there was extra clear, just as promised. Small fish flickered near the rocks. People spoke in low, happy voices and let the day be gentle. The Johnsons spread a blanket and ate sandwiches, careful to leave no crumbs. Jordan built a tiny wall of smooth stones and watched the waves test it. Maya found a shell with a perfect swirl. Denise wrote a postcard to her sister because she still loved sending mail. Marcus sat with his shoes off, toes in the sand, hands relaxed around his knees. He looked at his family and thought, "This is what I wanted. Nothing heavy, nothing hard, just us and the sound of water." They moved back to the main beach in the afternoon and set up under their blue umbrella. The sky held a few thin clouds, the kind that drift and do not cover the sun. Around them, families read books, tossed balls, and watched the tide. A couple near the water took turns wading in. 2 teenagers tried to teach themselves a dance and laughed when they forgot the steps. A lifeguard sat on a tall stand, red float by his feet, scanning the waves with a calm face. The Johnsons kept their space tidy. They used a small cooler with juice and fruit, and they had a speaker no bigger than a phone, turned low so it was just a whisper of sound at their blanket. It began with a familiar shape at the edge of the boardwalk, a patrol car that slowed without stopping. Marcus saw it and felt the same careful awareness he had felt the night before. He checked their setup. No glass, no charcoal, no large tent, nothing that needed a permit. Denise watched the kids with easy focus. Not worried, not yet. The patrol car moved on. He let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding and turned back to the water. 10 minutes later, the same car returned and parked near the beach access. 2 officers stepped out. The tall one from last night and the shorter one who had stood by Denise's window. Their radios clicked softly. They walked down the wooden steps, shoes sinking slightly into the sand. "Afternoon," the tall officer said, stopping at their umbrella. His tone was official but smooth. "We're doing routine checks for ordnance compliance." Marcus sat forward, palms open on his knees. "Afternoon, officer," he said. "What would you like to see?" "Umbrella size, cooler contents, and any amplified sound," the tall officer replied, as if reading a list. His eyes flicked to the small speaker. Marcus nodded. "Our umbrella is within the posted size," he said, pointing to the diagram printed on a sign by the steps. "Our cooler has water and fruit. No glass. The speaker is low and we can turn it off." The shorter officer looked at the cooler. "Open it, please." "Of course," Marcus said. He lifted the lid and showed neatly packed bottles and a container of grapes. The officer looked, then looked again, as if searching for something that wasn't there. Nearby, a group with a larger shade structure had a louder speaker playing, and the music carried clearly over the sand. The officers did not walk toward them. Denise spoke softly. "Is there a problem, officers?" The tall one tilted his head. "We've had calls about groups bringing prohibited items," he said, scanning the beach. "We need to make sure rules are followed." "We're happy to follow the rules," Marcus said in his calm tone. "If there's a specific concern, please let us know." A few people glanced over. A couple with a stroller paused. A teen with a camera around his neck lifted it slightly, then let it hang. The attention was not loud, but it gathered, the way clouds gather without a storm yet. The lifeguard climbed down from his stand and walked a few steps closer, not to interfere, just to be another set of eyes. The shorter officer pointed to the small speaker. "Turn it off," he said. "Sure," Marcus replied, and he did. The beach grew even quieter around them. He looked at his family. "It's off." "IDs," the tall officer said next. "All adults." Marcus kept his voice even. Can you tell me the reason for asking for our IDs? Ordinance enforcement, the officer said. We're documenting groups we contact. Denise reached for her wallet. Marcus did too, narrating his movement the way he always did. My wallet is in this pocket. I am going to take it out. Now. He handed his license over. Denise handed hers. The tall officer took them and studied the names for a long second, as if the letters might say more than they did. He did not ask for IDs from the group with the bigger speaker or the family. Building a grill near the dunes. How long are you staying? The shorter officer asked, eyes moving across their blanket like he was taking inventory. Until Saturday, Denise said. We're at the Seaside Blue. The tall officer spoke into his radio quietly, too low to hear the words. A minute passed. The breeze shifted. Maya squeezed her camera bag. Jordan watched the lifeguard, who watched back with a small nod that said, I'm here. The radio crackled and something changed in the officers' faces. The tall one handed the licenses back, but did not step away. We're going to ask you to come with us for a few questions, he said, looking at Marcus, then at Denise. There's been a report of suspicious activity matching your setup. Marcus let the words settle and then spoke with clear, gentle authority. Officer, we're a family enjoying the beach with permitted items. We have done nothing wrong. If there's a specific complaint, we're happy to answer here. The shorter officer shifted his feet in the sand. Sir, don't make this difficult. Marcus kept his hands visible, palms up. We are not making anything difficult. We're cooperating. I'm asking for clarity. He took a slow breath and felt the ground under him. Also, I'd like to speak with a supervisor. A small circle of people had slowed nearby, not close enough to crowd, but close enough to watch. A woman with a sun hat held her phone at chest level, recording. A man in a baseball cap whispered to his friend, They're fine. We've got glass bottles right over there. The friend nodded and took a quiet step closer. The lifeguard stayed. Within earshot, his posture neutral but attentive. The tall officer's jaw tightened. We don't need a supervisor for routine questions, he said. Stand up, sir. Marcus stood slowly, keeping his hands in front of him where everyone could see. He spoke to his kids without looking away from the officer. Stay by Mom, he said softly. Everything is okay. Denise rose, too, standing shoulder to shoulder with him. Her voice was steady. We are cooperating, she said to the officers. Please explain the reason you're singling us out. The shorter officer stepped slightly behind Marcus. Sir, step away from the umbrella and bring your hands together. Marcus's voice stayed calm but gained a firm edge. Officer, am I free to go or am I being detained? You are being detained pending investigation, the tall one answered. For what specific offense? Marcus asked. The question was clear and not aggressive, the kind of question that asked for the truth to stand up. The tall officer did not answer directly. We'll discuss that at the station, he said. For now. Hold on, said a voice from the side. It was the lifeguard, still gentle, still respectful. These folks have been here all afternoon. They've followed posted rules. If there's a complaint, maybe I can help clarify which rule is at issue. His words were careful, like someone trying to keep a boat steady in a small wave. The tall officer glanced at him briefly. Thank you, he said, but we have it handled. Denise spoke again, soft and clear. Officer, our children are here. If you plan to take my husband anywhere, I need to know why, and I need a supervisor present. The shorter officer's radio chirped. He turned to the side to listen. The tall one kept his eyes on Marcus. Sir, please interlace your fingers. Marcus took another breath. He felt the eyes of his children, the quiet support from strangers, the steady presence of the lifeguard, and the weight of a choice he had hoped not to make on this trip. He had tried calm. He had offered cooperation. He had asked for a supervisor. He had waited for fairness to appear on its own feet. It had not. He spoke with measured care. "Officer, I am going to reach for my wallet with my right hand. I will do it slowly. There is something in it you need to see before you take another step." He looked at Denise, then at Maya and Jordan. "Stay right here," he said. Marcus opened the wallet with slow, careful hands and held up a flat leather case. Inside, a gold and blue badge caught the afternoon light. He did not raise his voice. He did not change his posture. He simply let the badge be seen by the officers, the lifeguard, and the quiet circle of people nearby. "My name is Marcus Johnson," he said in a clear, even tone. "I am a supervisory special agent with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. I am off duty, here with my family on vacation. I have been cooperative. I am requesting a supervisor, and I would like to understand the specific basis for my detention." Everything around them seemed to pause, the breeze, the casual laughter from other blankets, even the soft swish of waves. The tall officer's eyes widened a small degree before he caught himself. The shorter officer blinked fast, as if he needed to reset the scene in his mind. The lifeguard didn't move, but his shoulders dropped by a fraction, like someone realizing the ground underfoot was steadier than he feared. A woman in a sun hat whispered, "Oh," and pressed her phone closer to steady her recording. The tall officer cleared his throat. "Sir, Agent Johnson," he said, trying out the words. "We weren't aware of your position." He glanced at the shorter officer, then to the radio at his shoulder. He pressed the button. "Dispatch, unit at Beach Access 3, requesting a supervisor to our location for clarification on an encounter." The reply came through in clipped words. "Supervisor en route." Marcus lowered the badge, still holding it where it could be seen. "Thank you for calling," he said. "While we wait, I'd like to make a few things clear. We have followed all posted rules. We are not in possession of any prohibited items. We have not disturbed anyone. Yet we were approached twice today and asked for IDs while other groups were not. My family deserves the same fair treatment as any other family on this beach." Denise stood at his side, her chin steady. She met the tall officer's gaze and said, "Our children have watched every second of this. Please consider the lesson they are learning about trust. We are asking for respect and clear reasons." The shorter officer shifted his weight, sand brushing around his shoes. "We were following up on a complaint," he said. His voice was less firm now. "We received a report of a group with a cooler and amplified sound. It matched our cooler," Marcus finished gently, "contains water and fruit. Our speaker was turned low, and we turned it off when asked. That was not true for groups near us who were not contacted." He paused, still even. "I'm not here to argue. I'm here to keep this honest." From the edge of the circle, a man in a baseball cap spoke up, respectful but audible. "Officer, my buddy and I have glass bottles over there. No one asked us for IDs." He pointed, then lowered his hand, not wanting to escalate, only to add a simple piece of the picture. "Thank you," Marcus said to the man with a small nod that carried gratitude. He turned back to the officers. "I would like your names and badge numbers." The request was calm, not harsh, the way a teacher might ask a student to write their name at the top of a page. The tall officer hesitated, then gave his name and number. The shorter officer did the same, his voice quieter. Marcus repeated both carefully, and Denise typed them into her phone. Maya, standing close to her mother, watched her father with eyes wide and steady, as if she were recording this too, not with a camera, but with the part of the heart that remembers how days feel. The supervisor arrived within minutes, a sergeant, with gray at his temples and the posture of someone who had stood in many such circles. He took in the scene quickly, the badge in Marcus's hand, the family, the lifeguard, the respectful ring of onlookers, and the officers standing just a little too stiff. "Afternoon," he said, voice balanced. "I'm Sergeant Hale. What seems to be the issue?" Marcus didn't lift the badge any higher. He didn't need to. He introduced himself again with the same simple facts. "Sergeant, we were asked for IDs and told we were being detained pending investigation. We asked for the specific reason, and none was provided. We requested a supervisor. I have identified myself. We have followed the rules. My family and I would like to enjoy our day without being singled out." Sergeant Hale listened without interrupting, then looked to his officers. "What was the call?" he asked. The tall officer explained the reported complaint in tight terms. The sergeant's eyes moved to the posted sign, to the small speaker now switched off, to the tidy blanket, to the other groups nearby with larger setups and louder music. He nodded once. "Thank you," he said to his officers. Then he turned back to Marcus and Denise. "I appreciate your patience. Based on what I see and what I'm hearing, you are within the rules. You are not being detained. I apologize for the disruption." A soft murmur moved through the small crowd like a wave that meets the shore and folds back. The lifeguard gave a small, almost invisible nod. Denise felt her shoulders loosen a little. Maya took a breath she didn't know she had been holding. Jordan gripped the edge of the blanket and let go. Marcus kept his tone gentle. "Sergeant, thank you for the clarity. I need a few things documented for the record. Please provide me the incident number for today's encounter, and please ensure body camera footage is preserved. I would also like a copy of your policy on beach ordinance enforcement and the criteria used for approaching groups." Hale did not bristle. He looked like a person who understood why this ask mattered. "We'll generate an incident number," he said. "Body camera footage is preserved by default. Policy copies can be requested at the station. I can have an officer bring you a card with the request process and my contact." "That would be helpful," Marcus replied. He slipped his badge back into the wallet, fingers steady. He did not make a speech. He did not raise his chin in triumph. He simply returned to the shape of a father on a beach day, still careful, still aware. "One more thing, Sergeant," he added softly. He gestured open palm to the groups around them. "Please ensure fairness. If rules are enforced, they should be enforced evenly. My children notice when they are not." Hale's face held a brief, honest sorrow. "You're right," he said. "We'll make a point of that." He stepped aside and addressed the circle in a firm but kind voice. "Thank you, everyone. This interaction is concluded. Please allow this family to enjoy their day." Phones lowered. People stepped back. A few offered quiet words as they moved away. "We're with you. So sorry that happened. Enjoy your vacation." The man in the baseball cap lifted, a hand in a small salute. The woman in the sun hat mouthed, "Thank you," perhaps for the way Marcus had handled the moment. The tall officer and the shorter officer stood a beat too long, unsure of their next move. Hale looked at them with a measured glance that held instruction without public scolding. "Make a note and clear the call," he said. They nodded and walked back toward the access steps, their footprints short and neat in the sand. An officer returned with a business card. On the back, he wrote the incident number, the supervisor's name, and the hours for records requests. Marcus thanked him. He placed the card in the small notebook he carried and wrote 3 lines beneath it: time, location, and requested supervisor. Encounter closed. No violation. He closed the notebook and set it beside the cooler. Denise turned to the kids. "How about we take a break and get lemonade?" she said in a tone that was light without pretending nothing had happened. She knew the moment needed air and sweetness. Jordan nodded quickly. Maya looked out at the water and then back at her dad. "Can I say something?" she asked softly. "Of course," Marcus said. Maya swallowed. "I felt small for a minute. But then I watched you. You didn't get angry. You just told the truth and asked for fairness. It made me feel taller again. Her eyes shone, not with tears, but with something steady. Marcus rested a hand on her shoulder. "Thank you for telling me," he said. "You were brave and calm. That matters." They walked to the boardwalk stand and bought 2 lemonades and a bottle of water. The vendor, a teenager with a baseball visor, had seen the circle and said only, "On the house," with a shy shrug. Denise tried to pay. He shook his head. "My aunt says good manners are free," he added, and then looked away, a little embarrassed by his own kindness. They thanked him and carried the drinks back. For a while, the beach became the beach, again. Jordan and Maya built a new sand fort with a wide moat. Denise read a chapter of her book. Marcus watched the horizon and let his breathing find a slow rhythm. Now and then, someone would glance their way with a small nod. The lifeguard returned to his stand, scanning the water with the same careful eyes. After an hour, a woman in a linen shirt approached from a respectful distance. "I'm a freelance reporter," she said quietly. "I saw what happened. If you're open to it, I'd like to hear your perspective. If not, I understand." Marcus looked to Denise. They exchanged the kind of glance that carries a whole conversation. He kept his answer simple. "We're with our children," he said. "We want to finish our day in peace. We will give a statement later, through the proper channels." The reporter nodded. "I understand," she said. "Thank you." She handed over a card. "If you decide to talk, here's my contact." She left without pressing. As the sun moved lower, the light turned warm and kind. The tide crept a little closer to the sand forts. The moat held, then gently melted under the next wave. "It's okay," Jordan said, watching the water smooth the edges. "Bakay." Morning came with soft light on the curtains and the comfort of a quiet room. The ocean sounded like a long, gentle whisper outside the glass door. Marcus woke first, brewed the small pot of coffee, and stood at the balcony for a moment. He looked at the line where water met sky and let his shoulders relax. He thought about what had happened at the beach. He thought about how it ended, with calm, with clear words, with people watching and learning. He was proud of his family. He was also a little tired in his bones, the kind of tired that comes after a day that asked you to be strong. Denise joined, him with a soft yawn and a smile that said good morning and I'm with you in one look. "How do you feel?" she asked in a low voice. "Steady," he said, "and grateful." He handed her a cup. They watched a small boat move like a pencil line across the water. After a minute, Denise said, "Let's make today gentle." They woke the kids with warmth and a promise. Pancakes at the cafe, then a slow walk on the pier, then we decide what feels good. Maya sat up with her camera beside her pillow and asked if she could take a sunrise photo from the balcony. "Go for it," Marcus said. Jordan rubbed his eyes and asked, "Are we still going to the cove?" "Maybe," Denise said. "Let's see how we feel after breakfast." At the cafe, the owner greeted them with a real smile that made the room feel safe again. "Good to see you," she said, as if she understood more than she was saying. She brought over pancakes shaped like clouds and a small dish of extra jam, just because. A couple near the window nodded hello. The world felt kind. While they ate, Maya checked her messages and said, "My friend sent me a link." She looked at her parents. "It's a video from yesterday. Someone posted a clip of what happened at the beach." She held the phone like it was a cup of hot tea, careful, with respect. "Do you want to see?" Marcus thought for a moment. "Let's take a quick look," he said. They watched a short clip. Marcus asking calm questions, the supervisor arriving, the apology, the small circle of people watching with quiet care. The caption said something simple about staying calm and asking for fairness. The comments were full of supportive notes from strangers. A few people mentioned the lifeguard with thanks. Denise put a hand over her heart and said, "I'm glad. It shows what really happened." Marcus nodded. "It's good to see kindness spread." His phone buzzed. It was an email from Sergeant Hale. It thanked Marcus for his patience, gave the incident number, and invited him to stop by the station if he wanted to speak with the captain for a brief conversation. The email also said a review of the call would begin, and that weekend enforcement guidelines would be checked for clarity and fairness. Marcus read it aloud. The table felt even more at ease. "Do you want to go?" Denise asked. "Maybe later," he said. "Let's let the morning be a morning first." They walked the pier and watched fishermen standing quiet with lines in the water. A child squealed when a small fish flashed near the surface. A busker played a soft tune on a guitar, and a seagull landed with the confidence of a local. The wind made Denise's hair dance. Maya took a photo of the pier posts reflected in the shallow water, making a second upside-down pier under their feet. Jordan pointed out a crab shuffling sideways between rocks and laughed because it moved like it was dancing. Just before noon, they wandered to a bench and shared a bowl of fruit. A familiar voice called out, "Hey there!" It was the lifeguard from the beach, now off duty in a plain t-shirt and flip-flops. He kept a friendly distance and said, "I wanted to say thanks for how you handled things. It mattered." Marcus stood and shook his hand. "Thank you for speaking up," Marcus said. "That mattered too." The lifeguard smiled. "Hope your day is easy." Then he waved and went on, leaving behind a note of goodwill. They decided to visit the small-town museum next, a place with model ships and old maps and a display of lighthouse lenses. An elderly guide told them how the first keepers lived, how they carried oil up those tall stairs night after night, how the light had saved people they never even met. "Work that helps strangers," he said, tapping the glass near an old brass lamp. "That's good work." Marcus felt the words settle inside him like a quiet anchor. In the early afternoon, Marcus walked over to the station while Denise took the kids to the bookstore. The building was small and tidy, with a mural of waves painted on one side. He introduced himself at the desk, and a few minutes later, Captain Ramirez stepped out. She looked like someone who had learned to listen first and talk second. They sat in a small conference room with windows that let in sunlight and the sound of the street. "Agent Johnson," she said, "thank you for coming. I've watched the body camera footage and the bystander video. I'm sorry for how your family was treated. We will review our weekend enforcement practices and make sure they are applied evenly. I've already asked for a refresher briefing on fair contact and clear communication, and will post clearer signs about what needs a permit to avoid confusion." "I appreciate that," Marcus said. He kept his tone simple and professional. "Here are a few suggestions that may help." He slid a short list across the table. Create a visible checklist for ordnance checks, rotate officers near busy spots to avoid repetition with the same families, add a supervisor walk-by every hour on the beach, and publish a short weekly report, showing numbers of contacts and reasons, data that helps build trust. "Transparency helps everyone," he said. "It builds confidence with the public and gives your officers clear guardrails." Captain Ramirez read the list and nodded. "This is practical," she said. "We can do most of this quickly. Thank you." She paused. "I also want to acknowledge the role your comm played. That video is going to be used in our training as an example of how to keep an interaction from heating up. Not because you showed a badge, but because you showed clarity." Marcus felt the words land with meaning. "I'm glad if it helps," he said. "My priority was my family. My second priority is always fairness." They shook hands. As Marcus stood to leave, the captain added, "Please tell your kids that the lighthouse is best at sunset, too." It was a small human moment, and it helped. Marcus met Denise and the kids at the bookstore where Jordan was choosing a book about sea animals and Maya was reading a pocket guide to photography. "How did it go?" Denise asked. Good, he said, and he meant it. They're going to make changes. They bought their books and walked out into a day that felt soft again. The rest of the afternoon was simple by design. They shared tacos from a food truck, fed crumbs to brave little birds, and sat on a low wall to watch surfers try to catch small waves. The boardwalk musician played the same gentle tune, and people clapped like the sound itself was a gift. In the late afternoon, they talked about whether to stay the last night or head home early. There was no fear in the conversation, only care. "I'm happy to stay," Denise said. "But if going home helps us rest better, I'm okay with that too." Maya looked at the horizon. "I'd like one more sunset," she said softly. Jordan nodded. "One more," he echoed, as if sunset were a friend he didn't want to leave without saying goodbye. Marcus smiled. "One more sunset it is, then we'll head home in the morning." They made a simple plan. They would find a quiet spot near the pier, eat dinner picnic style, and watch the sky change color. The hotel front desk clerk, who now greeted them like neighbors, recommended a deli that made great sandwiches. "Try the roasted veggie one," she said, "and the lemon bars." They did. On the sand, the evening felt like a kind hand on their backs. The light turned warm and gold, and then deeper, and then soft as a slow breath. The water caught the colors and threw them back in tiny waves. They ate and talked about small things. Maya's favorite lighthouse photo, Jordan's new knowledge. That crabs can regrow claws, Denise's plan to call her sister and send a postcard photo. When the first star appeared, they each made a quiet wish. No one said their wish out loud, but the smiles said enough. As the sun slipped lower, Marcus spoke to the kids in that gentle way he used when a lesson had to be careful and strong at the same time. "What did you learn these last 2 days?" he asked, Jordan thought. "That we stay calm," he said, "and that we stand together." Maya added, "That truth works best when we say it clearly. Also, that being kind is still important, even when we feel stressed." Denise smiled at them both. "I learned that a whole crowd can be respectful, and that one small voice, like the lifeguards, can help a lot." Marcus nodded. "I learned again that patience is not the same as silence. We can be patient and still ask for fairness. We can be gentle and still be strong." They watched the last edge of the sun slide behind the water. People clapped quietly, the way people do when beauty feels like a shared event. The family sat for a minute more, letting the soft dark arrive. Back at the hotel, they packed with the calm of people who know where everything goes. Marcus placed the small notebook in his bag and patted it once. Denise wrapped the lemon bars for the road. Maya charged her camera and backed up her photos. Jordan put his new book on top of his pillow so he would not forget it in the morning. They slept well. In the morning, they left a thank you note for the housekeeper and a kind review for the hotel clerk. They stopped by the cafe to say goodbye. The owner handed them a small bag with 2 scones. "For the drive," she said. "At the surf shop." The young man behind the counter gave a nod that looked like an apology wrapped.